boys and girls. Welcome to Science for Life for Grade 4 pupils. I am Dirani Narain, and today we will learn more about science. So get ready to have lots of fun because science is cool, it's awesome, and it is all around us. Remember to investigate, explore, and ask lots and lots of questions. Before we go into our topic for today, let's review what we did in our last lesson. In our last lesson, we learned that vertebrates are animals with backbone. Birds are warm-blooded and fishes are cold-blooded. Birds breathe by lungs and fishes breathe by gills. Birds are covered with feathers and fishes are covered with scales. And both birds and fishes are hatched. Now, our topic for today is based on amphibians and reptiles. By the end of this lesson, you should 1. List the characteristics of amphibians. List examples of amphibians. List the characteristics of reptiles. List the examples of reptiles. And identify the similarities and differences between amphibians and reptiles. Now we're going to go straight into amphibians. Here is a video to help you understand and identify the characteristics of amphibians. As you watch the video, try to answer these questions. 1. What are amphibians covered with? 2. Are the young amphibians hatched or born? 3. Which organ do amphibians breathe through? And 4. Are amphibians warm-blooded?
Hello everybody. Today we're going to look at a truly amazing group of vertebrates. When they're born, they usually live in water, but when they grow up and become adults, they spend most of their time on land. We present the amphibians. All amphibians have some common characteristics that you should know about, so you can recognize and differentiate them. Amphibians have thin, bare skin with no hairs and scales to protect them. Most have 4 legs and a membrane between their toes that allows them to move much better in the water. Amphibians are oviparous, but they don't incubate their eggs after laying them. They abandon them and don't care for their young. Not very good parents, huh? When they hatch, they're small larvae and live in water. Slowly, very slowly, their bodies go through a process called metamorphosis. During this process, the body of the amphibian changes. Their front and rear legs, their limbs grow, and their heads and their bodies develop, so they finally look like their parents. In the early stages of their lives, amphibians breathe through gills. But when they grow up and become adults, they breathe with their lungs. The problem is, their lungs are very small and cannot get all the oxygen they need to live. But nature is very clever and has solved this problem by allowing them to breathe and get the oxygen they need through their skin. That's why they need to be near water to keep their skin wet. In the early stages of their life, some amphibians are herbivores, but when they grow up, most become carnivores. So they need to hunt. Some have a long, sticky tongue they shoot out to capture prey. Aren't amphibians fascinating and also a bit strange? So let's remember the most important characteristics. Amphibians are vertebrates. They're oviparous. In the early stages of their life, they live in water as larvae. But slowly they change until they look like their parents. This process of change is called metamorphosis. Amphibians are carnivores, so they have to hunt to eat. They have thin, smooth skin and breathe through their skin and with their lungs. Amphibians are so interesting, aren't they?
I hope you enjoyed the video. What did we learn from the video? We learned that amphibians are vertebrates. They are covered with soft, moist skin. They lay eggs and the young ones are hatched. They breathe by gills in the early stage of their life and by lungs as an adult. If you look there now, you're seeing both gills and lungs, right? So amphibians are basically called double life animals. The word amphibian means double life. So that is why at one stage they breathe by gills and at another stage they breathe by lungs. Amphibians are cold-blooded. Amphibians go through a developmental stage called metamorphosis. Some examples of amphibians are toads and salamander. Let's go into the reptiles now. Here is a video to help you understand and identify the characteristics of reptiles. As you watch a video, try to answer these questions. Question 1. What are reptiles covered with? 2. Are the young reptiles hatched or born? 3. Which organ do reptiles breathe through? And 4. Are reptiles warm-blooded?
Hello everyone. Today we're going to learn about some very interesting vertebrate animals. We present the reptiles. Reptiles are vertebrate animals which are characterized by their special way of moving. Many move by dragging their tummy or abdomen on or close to the ground. Their name in Latin means just that. Reptare means to crawl or slither. Many are terrestrial, but there are also some that live in water. All reptiles have a number of characteristics we should know about so we can recognize them. Reptiles are cold-blooded animals that breathe with their lungs. They are oviparous, that is, they reproduce by eggs. When the eggs develop and hatch, the babies are just like their parents, but very small. Aren't they cute? As you can see, reptiles' skin is covered with strong, tough scales, and some, like tortoises, even have a shell. It looks like he has his house on his back, doesn't it? As for feeding, well, most reptiles are carnivorous. They hunt. Like this crocodile which has just eaten this poor rodent. Or this cute chameleon with its long, sticky tongue that catches all kinds of insects. Look, look! As we said already, most reptiles are carnivorous, but some, like this iguana, are herbivorous. There are lots of interesting things you should know about reptiles, such as most snakes have venom in their fangs. But they're not as bad as they seem. because they warn us of danger with their bright colours or the sound of their rattles. Chameleons are very curious. They can change colour, copying the landscape around them. They blend in with the background so no one can see them, and they become almost invisible. So let's remember the most important characteristics of reptiles. Reptiles walk by dragging their tummy on or close to the ground. They are oviparous, and their body is covered with strong, hard scales. They are vertebrates and are cold-blooded, and remember, they breathe with their lungs. Reptiles really are quite interesting, aren't they?
Okay. From the video, we've learned that reptiles are also vertebrates. They are covered with hard, dry, scaly skin. They lay eggs, so their young ones are hatched. They breathe through lungs. They are cold-blooded. Now, cold-blooded means if the environment is cold, their body is going to be cold. If the environment is warm, their body is going to be warm. Right? Some examples of reptiles are snake, turtle, and iguana. Here, again, we have the diagram to show the similarities and differences of reptiles and amphibians. In the middle, where the purple color is, you're going to look at the common characteristics of both reptiles and amphibians. In the pink section, you're going to look at the characteristics of reptiles that are different from the amphibians. And on the blue side, you're going to look at the characteristics of the amphibians that are different from the reptiles. You're given 5 minutes to complete this task. All right. Did you get these answers? Very good. Now, the common characteristics between reptiles and amphibians are they are both vertebrates. They lay egg and they are both cold-blooded. The differences now are reptiles, they breathe by lungs, whereas amphibians, they breathe by both gill and lung. Reptiles, they are covered with a hard, dry, scaly skin, whereas amphibians, they are covered with a soft, moist skin. So here we have the similarities and differences of amphibians and reptiles. Your task for this lesson. You are expected to draw and label the life cycle of a frog. Here's an example of how it should look. This here is an example of the life cycle. It starts with the egg, then the tadpole with legs, then you're going to get the young frog, and then the adult frog. Try your best to draw neatly as possible. Hope you enjoyed this lesson on amphibians and reptiles. Goodbye, children. See you next time.